My boyfriend of 5 years just dumped me. See ya, you're ugly and broke, and I can't stand it anymore. I went home, took off my buck teeth and wig, and called my billionaire dad. Dad, I'm single now. That insanely hot son of your old friend you wanted to set me up with. Is he still available? I was actually pretty surprised when Eric broke up with me. After all, we'd been together for 5 years, and he'd always been so good to me. So I asked him, can I ask why? The look Eric gave me was pure disgust. See ya, just look at yourself. You're a mess. Who could put up with someone that ugly? I glanced at my reflection in a nearby window. An explosion of frizzy hair, buck teeth, and huge, clunky glasses. Yeah, it was pretty ugly. But I looked exactly the same when Eric first started chasing me. Why wasn't I too ugly for him back then? I was annoyed. But then I remembered the time Eric carried me from my dorm to the student health center when I had terrible period cramps, so I decided to be the bigger person and tell him the truth. Actually, I said, choosing my words carefully, I'm not that ugly. I was just pretending to be. Eric just scoffed. Ugly or not, I don't care. Just answer one question. That Mr. Henry. He's not actually your uncle, is he? You mean Henry? I was a little confused. Of course not. So you did lie to me? Eric yelled. Why do you think I chased after a freak like you in the first place? It was because I thought Henry was your real uncle. Now that I know you're not related to him at all, who would want to keep looking at that ugly face? It all clicked. I always did wonder why the Ryan Gosling of state you would go after an ugly duckling like me. Turns out, he saw me calling the owner of the company where he interned uncle. But Henry isn't my uncle. He's my dad's driver. He worked loyally for my dad for 20 years, so my dad, with a wave of his hand, gave him one of his smaller companies. The very same company where Eric interned and now works. I wanted to explain, but seeing the look of disgust on Eric's face, I figured, why bother? Eric, I said, changing the subject, is there anything you want? What? Eric froze. I want to get you a breakup gift. Even though Eric's intentions were crooked from the start, he did make my life at school a lot easier. I don't like owing people, so I planned to give him something so we could part on good terms. I was about to suggest that maybe my dad could give him a company too, but Eric cut me off coldly. Forget it. I don't want any of your cheap junk. I swallowed the words that were on the tip of my tongue. Fine. Suit yourself. When I got home, I took off my fake buck teeth, frizzy wig, and huge glasses. My dad came over, grinning at my reflection in the mirror. My little girl is so beautiful. I rolled my eyes. If you knew I was so beautiful, why did you make me dress up like this every day? I think I'll just go to school looking normal from now on. My dad's face fell. Absolutely not. The psychic said your face attracts toxic guys. You have to dress down. When I first went to college, the psychic my dad always trusted did a reading and said my looks and family background would attract life-threatening trouble at school. It scared my dad so much that he stayed up all night researching how to make me look ugly. He was worried that using makeup long-term would damage my skin, so he had a dentist custom make a set of buck teeth that wouldn't affect my mouth or real teeth. Then he bought dozens of cheap outfits from thrift stores and made me start pretending to be ugly and poor. Oh, by the way, sweetheart. My dear old dad thought of something else, rubbing his hands together excitedly. Now that you've broken up, you can go on that blind date with my good friend's son, right? I'm telling you, my friend's son is ridiculously handsome. Give me a break, Dad, I said, exasperated. I just got out of a relationship. Give me a week to mourn. Oh, I mean, let's talk about it later. The next day, under my dad's watchful eye, I went out with my ugly disguise and a $5 t-shirt. It was our class beauty Nina's birthday, and she was celebrating at the Avalon Hotel downtown. But when I got to the hotel, I discovered that Eric was there too. Apparently, Eric got together with Nina the same day he dumped me. How funny that I, the ex-girlfriend, was the last to know. When I walked into the private room, everyone was crowded around Nina. Nina, thank you so much for today. We'd never get to eat at a fancy place like the Avalon otherwise. Seriously. The Avalon really is the best hotel in the city. The decor is amazing, and the food is so good. Nina was nestled up against Eric, smiling, until she looked up and saw me. Panic flashed across her face. Sia, she said, running over and grabbing my hand, her face full of fake guilt. I'm so sorry, I forgot you were coming today, so I invited Eric. You don't mind, do you? Her acting was so bad that I couldn't help it. I gagged a little. Nina's face froze. Eric immediately went full on protective boyfriend, pulling her into his arms. Sia, what's with the attitude? He glared at me with contempt. Nina was nice enough to even invite you. Otherwise, a broke ass like you would never step foot in a high-end place like this in your entire life. High-end? I looked around the private room, confused, and couldn't stop myself from speaking my mind. This isn't that high-end. It's nothing compared to the Avalon Grand. The Avalon Hotel was a classic that had been around for over a decade. A few years ago, they decided to create a members-only luxury experience, so they built a separate, exclusive wing behind the main hotel and called it the Avalon Grand. The Grand was connected to the Avalon, but the decor and service were on a completely different level. Nina was hosting her party in a standard room at the Avalon. But I usually went to the Grand. My comment made Nina's face turn even greener. Eric just laughed, furious. Sia, who are you trying to kid? Have you ever even seen what the Avalon Grand looks like? I wanted to say that I was just there yesterday, but remembering my dad's constant reminders to act poor, I kept my mouth shut. But the other classmates were getting excited. That's right, I've also heard the Avalon Grand is the most luxurious part. Nina, have you been there? Nina's face stiffened, but she quickly put on a sweet smile. Of course, I have. Really? Wow, Nina, you're amazing. I heard it's members only. Only a select few can get in. Nina, could you take us to see it? I want to see what the legendary Avalon Grand looks like. Yeah. We promise we won't order anything to eat or drink. We'll just take a look. Everyone was chiming in, and even Eric couldn't resist. Yeah, Nina, why don't you take us up for a look? Your dad's so rich, I'm sure he can get us into the Avalon Grand, right? The smile on Nina's face completely vanished. But under everyone's expectant gazes, she had no choice but to bite the bullet and nod. Fine, well. I'll take everyone over then. Nina led our large group to the Avalon Grand, located behind the main hotel, only to be stopped at the entrance. I'm sorry, miss, the host at the Grand said with a polite but distant smile. You are not a member of the Avalon Grand, so you cannot enter. Nina's face went white. Don't you recognize me? She forced a smile. I'm the daughter of Jacob Brooke. I'm sorry, but neither you nor your father are authorized to enter the Avalon Grand. Now Nina was truly panicking. Get your manager. She screamed, losing her composure. My dad spends tens of thousands at the Avalon every year. Why can't I go in? I demand to go in. With that, Nina actually tried to rush past the host. Her classmates beside her quickly grabbed her. The scene was incredibly awkward, and I was so bored I started cleaning my ears. All this drama over a private room. My legs were starting to ache. I was just about to reveal my identity and get everyone inside when the manager of the Avalon Grand suddenly rushed over. She spotted me in the crowd and hurried toward me, bowing respectfully. I apologize, Miss Hall. We didn't realize you were here. Your private suite is ready for you. Please, you and your friends, come right in. My classmates were stunned. Especially Nina. I was worried her new chin implant might fall off. I frowned. After waving my classmates inside, I asked the manager, how did you recognize me? I never dressed down when I came to the Grand. How did she recognize me in this ridiculous getup? The manager gave an awkward smile, but before she could speak, a lazy voice cut in. I recognized you and told her. I looked up and saw a guy standing at the end of the hallway, smiling at me. My eyes lit up instantly. Those legs, that body, that face. He was totally my type. I was also a little confused. Hey, handsome, do I know you? With a face like that, I would have remembered if I'd ever seen him before. The man's smile instantly collapsed. Sia, you're so heartless. He fumed, coming over and pinching my cheek. It's me, Liam. Liam? I was dumbfounded. The little chubby kid? Liam was the son of one of my dad's best friends. He was always a bit chubby as a kid. He used to get picked on a lot, and I was always the one who protected him. We lost touch after he went abroad for high school. But how did that little chubby kid turn into such a hottie? I stared at the hint of pecs under his white t-shirt and swallowed hard. It's been a few years. You've lost a lot of weight. Liam didn't hold back either. It's been a few years. You've gotten a lot uglier. That snapped me out of it. Speaking of which, why didn't you contact me when you got back? Liam's expression turned strange. I had your dad contact you. You were the one who refused to see me. When did my dad ever tell me Liam was back? I looked at Liam, puzzled, but for some reason, he was getting angry. Forget it, he said bitterly. I've known since we were kids that you have no heart. And with that, he turned and walked away. I was left standing there, completely bewildered. What was his problem? When I returned to the private room, I saw Eric and my classmates giving me weird looks. I looked at the empty table. Why aren't you guys ordering anything? Because we don't want to spend dirty money, Nina snapped sarcastically. Sia, I never thought you'd be so shameless. To think you'd hook up with some old man just for a taste of luxury. I was completely confused. I hooked up with an old man? Who? My own dad? Stop playing dumb. Nina shouted. Eric just told me everything. You call the owner of his company, Mr. Henry, uncle, right? When a college girl calls an old man uncle, it's pretty obvious what's going on. Besides, if you weren't hooking up with Henry, how could someone from a family that wears thrift store clothes possibly get into the Avalon Grand? I turned to look at Eric and saw him staring at me with suspicion. The other classmates started murmuring among themselves. I can't believe Sia is that kind of person. It's disgusting. But that Henry guy must have weird taste to go for someone that ugly. You don't get it. Some rich guys have strange tastes and prefer ugly girls. And to be fair, Sia has a really good body. Listening to their gossip, I calmly picked up a glass of sparkling water from the table and, without hesitation, poured it over Nina's head. Nina's triumphant smile turned into a shriek. Sia, what are you doing? Your mind and your mouth seem dirty, I said earnestly. So I'm washing them out for you. You. And another thing, I said, looking at a shocked Eric and the other students. You're all students at a top university. Please try to use your brains before you believe everything people say. With that, I walked out of the room without a second glance. After that incident, I was completely ostracized by my classmates. But I didn't care. I came to school to learn, not to make friends with idiots. One day in class, during a break, I was reading a book when a commotion broke out at the front of the classroom. It's Liam. The super handsome guy who just transferred to the finance department. Wow, he's seriously hot. Way hotter than Eric. And I remember someone looked him up. His family is apparently super rich. The car he drives to school is worth a couple million. Oh my god, he's the total package. I finally looked up and, sure enough, saw Liam standing at our classroom door, looking around. The girls sitting in front of me got even more excited. Hey, why do you think Liam is in the statistics department? I feel like he's looking for someone. Who could he be looking for? Does anyone in our class know him? Amidst the curious chatter, Nina cleared her throat. He might be here for me, she said, tilting her chin up. We met once at a student council meeting. Everyone immediately looked at Nina with envy. Oh my God, Nina, you have the best luck. Not only do you have a handsome boyfriend like Eric, but you also know a hottie like him. Nina couldn't hide the smirk on her face. Just then, Liam walked into the classroom and headed in our direction. Nina immediately stood up. Liam, what can I do for you? She started to speak in a high-pitched, delicate voice, but Liam walked right past her. He didn't even glance at her. The next second, Liam plopped down in the seat next to me and demanded, Sia, why didn't you accept my friend request on Messenger? The entire classroom fell silent. I looked at Liam's accusatory face, quickly pulled out my phone, and finally saw the friend request. Sorry, I was in class. I wasn't looking at my phone. Liam watched me accept the request, nodded in satisfaction, dropped a boba tea on my desk, and turned to leave. I was completely baffled. So this guy came all the way to our department just to make sure I accepted his friend request? I was stunned, wondering if the finance department had that much free time, when Nina slammed her hand on the table. I looked up to see her furious face. Sia, tell me. How do you know Liam? I looked at the jealousy practically shooting out of Nina's eyes and answered truthfully. Our parents know each other. That's impossible. Nina blurted out. He's rich and handsome. How could your parents possibly know his parents? Unless... Nina suddenly had a realization. Wait, I remember now. Sia, your dad's a driver, right? Does that mean your dad is actually Liam's family driver? I was completely lost. My dad is a billionaire. How did he become a driver? But then it hit me. I remembered a classmate asking what my dad did for a living a while back. I was still new to the whole playing poor thing and, feeling nervous, I just blurted out driver. I never thought Nina would remember. Seeing my silence, Nina became even more certain of her guess. Her smile grew wider. Sia, you're so pathetic. Your dad's just their driver, and you're talking like your childhood sweethearts. You're so shameless. Thanks to Nina's big mouth, the news that my dad was Liam's family driver spread through the entire class in an instant. And I was too lazy to explain. Didn't my dear old dad want me to pretend to be poor? Fine. Now I've turned him into his best friend's driver. He should be satisfied, right? Soon, it was time for the arts festival. This year's festival was special. The theme was graffiti. Each class was assigned a wall of an academic building to express the theme through their own graffiti art. And every student was required to participate. Unfortunately, I had just gotten my period today. I felt groggy and could only paint with a brush, completely zoned out. Not far away, Eric had brought Nina a boba tea, and the two of them were all over each other. Ugh. I quickly finished my part and was about to head home early to rest, but just as I stood up. Ah! Watch out! A fake gasp rang out. I turned my head just in time to see a bucket of paint being splashed over me from the side. The painkillers I took for my cramps had slowed my reflexes, and I couldn't dodge in time. The paint covered my entire head. My frizzy wig and glasses were instantly ruined. Everyone around me fell silent. The one who spilled the paint was one of Nina's minions. I heard her fake apology. Oh, Sia. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. What do we do? Your whole face is covered in paint. As she spoke, she couldn't help but laugh. But honestly, Sia, you actually look better this way than you usually do. At that, everyone burst out laughing. The paint was sticky in my hair and on my face, and it was extremely uncomfortable. And suddenly, I was done putting up with it. Better, huh? I said calmly. Want to see something even better? The smiles on Nina and her friends' faces froze. The next second, they watched in shock as I reached up and pulled off the frizzy wig from my head. Nina's eyes went wide. Your hair. Before she could finish, I took off my glasses and my fake buck teeth. Then I went to a nearby faucet and washed my face. Since the graffiti project was only for one day, the school had used water-soluble paint for environmental reasons and easy cleanup. After a quick rinse, my face was clean. I lifted my fresh face and gave Nina a small smile. So, how do I look? I saw the clowns in front of me fall silent. Then, Nina screamed. Impossible. She pointed a trembling finger at me. You. How can you be so beautiful? I turned and looked at my reflection in a nearby window. I did look pretty good. The drama ended quickly. Since my clothes were ruined, I borrowed an outfit from a classmate who lived in the dorms. After changing in the women's dorm, I came out to find that several of the school's group chats and forums were buzzing. Someone had filmed the moment I took off my wig and buck teeth and posted it online. The students were going crazy. Oh my god. Is that Sia, the ugly girl from the stats department? She's actually that beautiful. Yeah, she's way prettier than their department beauty, Nina, right? Way more than just Nina. I'd say she could be the new campus queen. I sighed helplessly. Sorry, Dad. It looks like my mission to be ugly is officially a failure. I was sighing and getting ready to head back when I suddenly saw Liam waiting for me outside the dorm building. He wasn't surprised by my appearance, he had clearly seen the pictures online. He didn't comment on my face, just asked, Sia, you don't look well. Do you want to go home? My cramps were still killing me, and after all that drama, I had zero passion left for any graffiti festival. I just wanted to go home. So I gave a weak nod. Okay, wait here. I'll go get the car. Liam left quickly. I was about to lean against the wall to rest when I heard Sia. I turned around and saw Eric walking toward me. I immediately felt sick to my stomach. What are you doing here? Eric walked up to me, his expression incredibly complicated. Sia, you're actually this beautiful? Why were you pretending to be ugly before? You even hid it from me? I couldn't help but roll my eyes. I told you I wasn't ugly. You were the one who didn't believe me. Eric's expression grew even more complex. Then, he suddenly reached out to take my hand. I flinched back as if I'd been electrocuted. What are you doing? Eric looked at me with deep affection. Sia, I've been thinking a lot, and I realize I can't let you go. Let's get back together. I gave him a strange look. What about your new girlfriend, Nina? I knew exactly what this guy was thinking. He saw that I was actually beautiful and couldn't quite let me go. But in his mind, I was still the poor girl. I didn't believe for a second that he would give up a rich girl like Nina for my face. Sure enough, I saw Eric's expression falter for a second. But he quickly put on an even more affectionate look. Nina has her good qualities, of course. You two are different, but I care about both of you. So from now on, you and Nina can be together with me, one in public, one in private. You won't interfere with each other. How does that sound? I was floored by the sheer thickness of Eric's skin. Still in shock, I didn't forget to raise my hand and slap him across the face. Eric probably never dreamed I would hit him. The slap sent him stumbling back. Sia! He yelled, holding his face in a rage. Why did you hit me? You were talking nonsense, so I thought I'd help you out, I said sincerely. How's that, hurt? Did it wake you up from your daydream? You! Eric was so angry he actually raised his hand to hit me back. But I wasn't scared. A weakling like him who never works out probably wasn't as strong as me, who lifts weights every day. I rolled up my sleeves, ready to teach him a lesson, when suddenly, Eric! A sharp voice rang out. I looked up and saw Nina storming over, furious. Eric! What are you doing here with this woman? Eric panicked instantly. Clearly, while he lusted after my looks, he cared more about the resources Nina could bring him. He stammered, I suddenly remembered my professor needed a file from me. Nina, I've got to go. And with that, he fled, leaving Nina to glare daggers at me. Sia, have you no shame? Using your slutty face to seduce other people's boyfriends. I looked at Nina, amused. So you admit you're not as pretty as me? It's okay, don't feel too bad about it. A few more surgeries and you might be a tenth as beautiful as I am. You. Nina was about to fly into a rage when the sound of an engine roared from behind her. I turned to see Liam pulling up in his car. He got out, opened the passenger door for me, and called, Sia. Looking at Liam's handsome face, an idea sparked in my mind. I quickly walked over, looped my arm through his, and looked up at Nina. Nina, take a good look. This is my new boyfriend. If you had a boyfriend this handsome, would you still go after Eric? Of course not. After all, I'm a person, not a dog. Why would I give up a filet mignon for a pile of crap? I watched with satisfaction as Nina's face turned green again. Sia, you just wait. After shouting that completely non-threatening line, Nina stormed off in a huff. As soon as she was gone, I immediately let go of Liam and gave him an awkward smile. Sorry about that. I just used you to piss her off. We've known each other for so many years, you don't mind, right? Liam didn't answer right away. He just stared at the spot on his arm where I had been holding him. After a long moment, he finally looked up at me. He just stared, and his gaze made me feel a little guilty. I cleared my throat awkwardly. What are you looking at? What, are you stunned by my beauty? As I said it, I couldn't help but feel a little smug. You know, last time you said I got uglier over the years. Well, now you see I didn't, right? I looked at Liam triumphantly, but to my surprise, he just sighed softly. If I could, I'd wish you still looked like you did before. I looked at him, confused, but he had already reached out and patted my head. Come on, I'll take you home. I knew Nina wouldn't let me off the hook so easily, but I never expected her to stoop so low. The next day in class, I opened my desk and found a Cartier necklace inside. I recognized it immediately as Nina's. After all, when her dad gave it to her, she practically paraded it all over campus. I instantly knew what she was trying to do. Without a word, I called my family's driver and had him bring the new Cartier necklace I had at home to the school. The chains on both necklaces were similar, but the pendants were vastly different. Nina's was a standard model from the boutique, while mine was custom-made. Her pendant was a bull's head with a single 54-carat diamond. Mine was a 2-carat blue diamond my father had specially sourced. The price difference was astronomical. I put on my necklace, tucked the pendant into my shirt, and, when Nina wasn't looking, dropped her necklace back into her little LV purse. Then I waited. In the afternoon, the show began as expected. My necklace. I heard Nina shriek, and the classroom descended into chaos. Necklace? Nina, is it the Cartier bull's head diamond necklace your dad gave you? Oh my God. I remember that necklace cost something like $5,000. How could something so expensive just disappear? Do you think someone stole it? Nina, when was the last time you saw it? Nina put on a show of trying hard to remember. I remember I left it on my desk. There was hardly anyone in the classroom then, just Sia. All eyes turned to me. One of Nina's minions, with sharp eyes, spotted the chain around my neck. Her eyes lit up. Sia, what's that around your neck? That chain, isn't that a Cartier chain? Oh my God. Sia, you stole Nina's necklace. The other students began to look at me with suspicion. Nina's eyes were practically glowing with excitement. Only my expression remained calm. This? I touched the chain but didn't pull out the pendant. It is a Cartier necklace, but it's my own. Nina's little group of friends laughed as if they'd heard the funniest joke in the world. Sia, stop pretending. Do you have any idea how much Cartier costs? How dare you claim you own one? Exactly. Look at yourself, wearing cheap clothes all the time. Cartier? I bet even buying a Casio watch would bankrupt you. Amid the harsh laughter, Nina sauntered over to me. Sia, she said, biting her lip, looking innocent and heartbroken. I know your family is poor and you've never seen nice things, so you get jealous when you see a beautiful necklace. I don't blame you, really. As long as you give it back to me now, I can let this whole thing go. After her magnanimous speech, she leaned in and whispered in my ear, in a vicious tone only I could hear, Sia, surprised? I put that necklace in your desk on purpose. I was wondering how I'd get to search your desk to prove you stole it, but I never thought you'd be so greedy as to wear it yourself. Huh, you really are a poor, unsophisticated brat. Getting to wear a Cartier necklace even once is a huge gift to that pathetic neck of yours. Just you wait. I'm going to ruin your reputation today. I looked up at Nina's triumphant face and genuinely worried about her intelligence. The thought that she and I were in the same department at the same university felt like an insult to my own intelligence. Nina, I said sincerely, you're overthinking it. I wouldn't even pick your necklace up if I found it on the street. Nina's face turned green again. Her minion shouted, Sia, who are you kidding? You're the one who stole it and you're acting all high and mighty. Yeah, you said the necklace around your neck isn't Nina's, right? Fine. Let's see it for ourselves. With that, one of them lunged forward and yanked the necklace from my neck. I didn't bother to struggle, letting the pendant be pulled out from under my shirt. The moment the pendant came into view, the entire class fell silent. The sparkle of my blue diamond was blinding. Nina's eyes were so wide I was worried they'd pop out of the corners she just had surgically widened last month. The students looked at each other, taking a long moment to process what they were seeing. I remember Nina's necklace. It wasn't that big, right? And it was colorless? Yeah, this definitely isn't Nina's necklace. So it really is Sia's own? Oh my god. I can't believe it. Sia can actually afford a Cartier necklace. As everyone murmured, I saw my chance, casually lifted a hand, and pointed to Nina's desk. Huh, Nina, isn't your bull's head diamond necklace right there on your desk? Everyone's head whipped around, and sure enough, as Nina's minion had rushed me, Nina's LV purse had fallen over. The necklace I had put back inside had slid out. The tiny square diamond was in stark contrast to the blue diamond around my neck. The chatter among the students grew even louder. Oh my god, I didn't really notice before, but compared to Sia's necklace, Nina's looks so tiny. Right? And the color is different. I remember blue diamonds are more expensive, aren't they? More expensive is an understatement. Blue diamonds are several times more expensive. Let's put it this way, Nina's necklace is around $5,000. Sia's is probably worth over $1 million. Over $1 million. Oh my god. Amid the gasps of astonishment, only Nina stood there in shock, her face pale. Then she screamed. It's fake. There's no way Sia can afford such an expensive necklace. And I've never seen Cartier make a necklace like that. It has to be fake. I frowned, but before I could say anything, the class president suddenly spoke up. It can't be fake. The cut and color of this blue diamond are authentic. As for the design, if I'm not mistaken, this is a custom piece from Cartier. Right, Sia? Our class president's family was in the jewelry business, and he was known for being honest and straightforward. So when he said that, everyone immediately believed my necklace was real. The shock in the room intensified. Oh my god. So Sia is actually a secret rich girl. She's just been low-key this whole time. Yeah, unlike Nina, who buys a $5,000 necklace and shows it off everywhere. Seriously, and she imagines someone would steal her necklace? That's hilarious. Turns out Sia's necklace is worth hundreds of times more than hers. Exactly. Who would even want her necklace? This is so embarrassing. Everyone was laughing at Nina, and even her little group of minions was now quietly distancing themselves from her. Nina's face turned shades of red and white until she couldn't take it anymore and ran out of the classroom, crying. After that, my plan to be ugly and poor completely failed. When I told my dad, he was so worried he plucked out several strands of his beard. But he couldn't blame me. In the end, he angrily donated 3 academic buildings to the school and a ton of money to the local temple, hoping to ward off bad luck by spending money. I could finally go to school carrying my Hermes bags and wearing normal, pretty makeup. Life was amazing. But my good mood didn't last long. One morning, I walked into the classroom and immediately sensed something was wrong. My classmates, who had been so friendly lately, were now giving me strange looks. Finally, the class president couldn't stand it and whispered to me, "Sia, have you seen the post about you on the school forum?" I pulled out my phone and found the thread. Shocking. Stats department student selling her body to a sugar daddy. The post was clearly about me. It included photos of me getting out of luxury cars every day and carrying various limited edition bags. The original poster even presented a logical analysis. If this Sia girl wasn't being kept by a sugar daddy, why would she have been so low-key, pretending to be poor and ugly before? Obviously, her sugar daddy didn't allow it, so she had to keep a low profile. The poster made so much sense that even I, the person in question, was almost convinced. Well, if you just understood sugar daddy to mean my actual dad, the logic kind of held up. I had just finished reading the post when I was told the student advisor wanted to see me in his office. I walked into the advisor's office and saw Eric was there too. I was wondering what he was doing there when the advisor asked him sternly, "Eric, you dated Sia before, right? Tell me honestly, does she really have a questionable lifestyle? Is she selling her body off campus?" Eric didn't even look at me. "Yes, sir," he replied immediately. I had to laugh. "Eric, you're the one who posted that on the forum, aren't you?" I said coldly. "What right do you have to say I'm selling my body? What proof do you have?" I had been wondering why a petty person like Eric had been so quiet after I rejected him. Turns out, he was busy cooking up this scheme. Eric finally looked at me and said without hesitation, "Sia, you can fool others, but you can't fool me. I was with you for so long, do you think I wouldn't know you're broke? You couldn't even bring yourself to buy a puppy, you had to go to some shelter to adopt one. Would someone like that be the daughter of a rich family? Since your family has no money, how did you suddenly get so many bags and jewels and a luxury car service? The only explanation is that you're selling your body." I found Eric's logic hilarious. I adopted a stray dog because I believe getting a puppy is about helping an innocent life, not about taking pictures for social media. So to me, a purebred puppy that costs thousands of dollars is no different from a stray. But clearly, that was beyond Eric's comprehension. He continued, "And you lied to me before about dating that Liam guy from the finance department. I looked into it, and there's nothing going on. He's probably just a cover for your sugar daddy arrangement, right? Most importantly, if you didn't have a sugar daddy, why would you have refused to get back with me? You just think those old men have more money than I do." I was once again blown away by Eric's logic. I never would have guessed that the foundation of his entire self-serving delusion was his own baffling self-confidence. So I asked sincerely, "Eric, do you think your last name isn't Miller, it's Money?" Eric didn't follow. "What? If you didn't think your name was Money, why would you assume everyone wants a piece of you?" Eric finally realized I was mocking him, and his face turned green with rage. He ignored me and turned to the advisor. "Sir, Sia has committed such a morally corrupt act. The university must punish her severely." Eric's logic was clearly, if I can't have her, no one can. Since I wouldn't agree to be his secret girlfriend, he was determined to make my life miserable. The advisor also gave me a cold look. "Sia, have your parents come to the school immediately." He didn't even ask any questions, as if my guilt was already decided. But I wasn't surprised. I had known for a while that Nino was always giving this advisor gifts. His targeting me was probably related to her. So I just gave him a meaningful smile. Are you sure you want me to call my dad? Of course. The advisor said impatiently. Who has time to joke around with you? Get your parents here now. Fine. I nodded, took out my phone, and called my dad. The second he picked up, I burst into dramatic sobs. Wah. Daddy. Everyone at school is bullying me. You have to come save me. My wailing quickly had the desired effect. I heard my dad roar on the other end. Someone dares to bully my daughter. Who has a death wish? I'm on my way right now. I hung up and looked at the advisor and Eric with a blank expression. My dad's on his way. The advisor sneered, good. I'd like to see what kind of parents would raise such a shameless daughter. I looked at his arrogant expression and thought, you'd better not regret this later. 5 minutes later, someone burst through the door of the advisor's office. It wasn't my dad, but the university president. President, what are you doing here? The advisor, surprised, was just about to stand up and greet him when the president rushed over and demanded, I heard you said a student has a questionable lifestyle? And you called her parents in? The advisor thought the president had seen the online forum and was here to back him up. His eyes lit up as he quickly said, yes, it's this student, Sia Hall. She's been selling her body for money, damaging the school's reputation. We must discipline. Before the advisor could finish, the president slammed his hand on the desk. Discipline what? What do you mean for money? Do you have any idea who you're talking to? She's Harrison Hall's daughter. How could she possibly need to sell her body for money? Then the president looked at me with an awkward smile. Miss Hall, I'm so sorry. This is all a misunderstanding. I've already had that post on the school forum deleted. And also, thank you for your father's recent donation of the academic buildings. I'm so sorry to have troubled him to make a special trip here today. Hearing the president's words, the advisor and Eric were stunned. Harrison Hall. Eric blurted out. The billionaire Harrison Hall? How could Sia be his daughter? Just as Eric finished speaking, a cold voice came from behind him. Who says my Sia can't be my daughter? The advisor jumped, turned around, and saw my dad walking in with his secretary and bodyguards, his face dark. My dad is on the news all the time, so of course, the advisor and Eric recognized him. They were completely dumbfounded. Eric's lips trembled. Mr. Hall. My dad gave him a cold look. You're Sia's ex-boyfriend, right? You're also the one who posted that on the school forum, aren't you? No, Mr. Hall, It's fine. We're not going to abuse our power. But from now on, none of my companies, or any of my partner companies, will ever hire someone with your character. Eric's face went pale. Everyone knew how massive Harrison Hall's business empire was. If you excluded his companies and his partners' companies, there were hardly any other companies left to work for. Mr. Hall, Eric started to say desperately, but my dad had already turned to the president. And as for this advisor who convicted my daughter without any investigation, I'll leave it to you, Mr. President, to handle him accordingly. Of course. The advisor's face went white. My dad then took me and swept out of the office. Downstairs, my dad was still scolding me, frustrated. Look at you. You have eyes, but you can't see. How could you fall for a piece of trash like that? This time, I couldn't argue with him. After all, I also felt like I must have been blind to have fallen for Eric. I was full of regret, so I said, You're right, Dad. I've realized my judgment is terrible. So, I think I'll just be a good girl and agree to go on that blind date with your friend's son. My dad could be a little goofy sometimes, but just based on the fact that he chose my mom, I felt his judgment was more reliable than mine. But my dad just gave me a strange look. Haven't you already met my friend's son? Huh? I was baffled, and then my dad said, "It's Liam. The person I wanted to set you up with was Liam, the one you knew when you were a kid. Liam came back to the country recently, so I wanted you two to meet. But Liam's dad told me a while ago that you two had already met, didn't you?" I was dumbfounded. "This whole time you were talking about Liam?" I said, speechless. "How does he count as a blind date? I've known him for years." But my dad looked at me like I was an idiot. "Sweetheart, are you really that clueless, or are you just playing dumb? That kid Liam has had a crush on you for years." After seeing my dad off, I walked back to the classroom in a daze. Liam liked me? The information was shocking, but once I accepted it, a lot of Liam's bizarre comments suddenly made sense. More importantly, why did I feel this strange flutter in my heart knowing that Liam liked me? I mean, back in high school before I started my ugly disguise, tons of guys confessed to me, and I never felt this way. I was lost in thought when I suddenly heard, "Sia." I turned around and saw Liam. There was a small cut on his lip. I hurried over. "What happened to your face?" "Got in a fight with Eric," he said nonchalantly. "What?" I was stunned. "Why would you fight him?" "Because he was spreading rumors about you online." Liam's eyes were terrifyingly cold. "Don't worry, I already sent him to the hospital. Not only that, but I had someone investigate him and found out he has a habit of secretly taking pictures of girls. I've already reported it to the police and the school. He'll probably be expelled soon." I was speechless. I knew Eric was a piece of scum, but I never thought he was a monster. To do something as disgusting as taking creep shots of girls. No wonder he never let me look at his phone when we were dating. Liam looked at me with disappointment. "Sia, have your eyes gone bad over the years? How could you fall for someone like that?" I stared at Liam, thinking how he even looked handsome when he was scolding someone. Maybe it was his good looks that clouded my judgment, because without thinking, I blurted out, "Yeah, my eyes are bad. That's why I never noticed you liked me all this time." Liam froze. Then he let out a smug huff through his nose. "It's about time you knew." So he admitted it. The atmosphere between us became a little charged. Then he suddenly looked down at me again. I noticed his face was slightly red. "So, that was basically a confession. What's your answer?" Liam looked at me nervously. I looked into his eyes and suddenly understood what that strange feeling was when I found out he liked me. It was happiness. So I stood on my tiptoes and gently kissed his cheek. "That's my answer."